kindness.
What was that?
That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud Phone System. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business calm at ooma.com/radio.
I don't feel so good.
You do feel hot. Dayquil Kids will take care of that fever.
What about my cough?
Dayquil Kids has that covered.
Will it make my throat feel better?
Yes, that too.
But will it taste good?
Yep, Dayquil Kids comes in your favorite flavor.
Purple?
Well, yes, it's grape.
Try new Dayquil Kids Plus Fever, the daytime coughing, aching, sore throat fever just for kids medicine. Safe for kids 6+. Use as directed.
You bought a house, or maybe you're building one, but it just isn't feeling like home. Not yet. AMC Building Materials has this undeniable knack for transforming a house into a home. Your home. How do they do that? They combine years of exceptional kitchen and bath creations with your ideas. In fact, customer satisfaction is their #1 priority. You know what you want. You know it's not going to be cookie cutter. And this is exactly where AMC shines. AMC delivers exceptional quality, bold-style kitchen and bath designs, along with their exceptional value and a timeline you'll love. Most projects are complete by the elite AMC professional installers in under 10 days. Immerse yourself in the beauty, function, and feel in person at the AMC Building Materials showroom in Salt Lake City. Get directions and schedule your free estimate at amckitchenslc.org. AMC Building Materials, transforming your house into a home. amckitchenslc.org.
Hi, I'm Miley O'Keefe. In competitive gymnastics, flexibility and precision are crucial, and Les Olson IT knows how important flexibility and precision are to your business. It's why they deliver the very best IT security, office equipment, collaborative technology, and so much more. Let Les Olson IT's Perfect 10 service empower your business at lesolsonit.com.
Les Olson IT. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by My Style Checking from Mountain America Credit Union. Ricky, what's going on?
Valley Freeway traffic rolling along and looking good. We do have an accident in Tooele County. Southbound SR 36 Main Street at Stansbury Park has just been moved over to the shoulder out of traffic. Lagoon is hiring full-time year-round ride maintenance technicians and electricians with journeyman or apprentice-level experience. Apply online at lagoonpark.com/jobs. Must be 18 years of age or older to apply. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Cloudy and hazy today with a high of 41. Things changing tomorrow, though. A little storm system coming our way that will cool the temperature as well. Just a slight chance of showers, but it will get rid of all of that smog. Right now, 35 degrees. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
You know, presidents often do a lot of last-minute things as they prepare to exit office. This one is different. President Biden has announced that he believes the Equal Rights Amendment is ratified. He's directed the National Archivist to certify and publish the amendment as the official 28th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Welcome to Inside Sources. I'm your host this afternoon, Greg Skordas, and I'm alongside Adam Gardner. Adam, good to see you.
Hey, it's good to see you too.
You're in a good mood. You're kind of chipper today.
I am trying to fake it until I make it.
Yeah, I guess.
I got my tire blew out on the road this morning.
Yeah.
And so I had to change it on Mountain View Corridor, which is not fun.
No, because the cars are flying by
laying in the freezing ground. But I got it taken care of. We go over the show, and I see exactly what you're talking about with President Biden wanting to make changes to the 28th Amendment or create this 28th Amendment, the ERA.
The Equal Rights Amendment, yeah.
Equal Rights Amendment. And I don't want to get into is the Equal Rights Amendment good or is it bad? I don't think that's the point of our conversation.
Nope.
He is out of office on Monday. What on earth are you giving direction to the archivists, to the National Archives, and saying, make this an amendment when no one else is saying that it is?
Yeah. By the way, I need to leave in 2 days, but would you mind creating the Equal Rights Amendment as a part of our Constitution? Biden, I love the guy, but he has done a couple of things during his term in office where he has taken his executive authority a step or two too far. Do you remember the student loan forgiveness program?
Oh, my
He
gosh.
just by a stroke of a pen saying, we're forgiving $2 billion or $8 billion. It was some horrific number in student loan debt. And the courts and Congress are like, wait a minute, that's not really your call. There are certain things you can't just do with a stroke of a pen. Now, the Equal Rights Amendment, I will say this. It was, I think, first approved by Congress, in the 80s? I mean, it's been a long time. 1972. But when it was passed by Congress at that time, they gave the states some drop-dead period of time by which they had to ratify it. You have to get 2/3 of the states, which means, 3/4 of the states, 38 to ratify it. We did cross that threshold, but it was not within the time period Congress had allowed for the Equal Rights Amendment. And in fact, when the 38th state, Virginia, in 2020 ratified it, 5 other states had de-ratified it.
They rescinded their ratification.
So that didn't exist anymore. But some people have felt like, well, you ratified it. It's kind of a King's X thing. We're not going to let that count. So it's interesting because I've been reading about this before, that Biden could have done this, and people are wondering why he didn't, because you would expect Biden would be a pro-Equal Rights Amendment president and would want to do what he can to get it ratified. But it's the National Archivist who has it, I guess, sitting on his or her desk, and they can either put it in the Constitution or not. I don't know how it all works.
But it's not the president that gives direction to do this.
Absolutely not.
They do this on their own after the requirements of the law have been fulfilled.
Right.
And to your knowledge and to mine, that is not the case.
That is not the case. So I would say this, that a Biden official has said, well, he's not taking executive action. In other words, it's not the 28th Amendment. He's stating that he's stating an opinion that it is ratified. I mean, he's saying, okay, it's ratified, but that doesn't mean that the archivist is just going to put it on as the 28th Amendment. In fact, I don't know where this is going to go. Biden's doing a lot of things. I think he pardoned another 2,500 people yesterday, drug offenders who were convicted during a time when, let's face it, we had pushed this drug possession.
It swung the pendulum
right.
Too far one way.
Right. It's kind of gone back. And to his credit, I don't know, credit's not the right word, that web that was created for a drug problem, and I'm getting off base a little bit, but I guess I'm a defense attorney, so I'm going to go there, captured a lot of people that we hadn't expected, and it captured a huge disproportionate amount of minorities, especially African Americans. And I think that we were looking back going, wait a minute, that wasn't really what we were trying to do. You know what I mean? Okay, yeah. I'll get off of that. Let's get back to the 28th Amendment. It's the Equal Rights Amendment. It was started in 1972. A lot of states have ratified it, up to 38. I think we're back down to 33 now. Congress had to pass it by a majority, I think 2/3 of both houses, which happened. I mean, at the time, it was kind of a big deal. And then it kind of, I don't know, it just kind of dropped out. It seems like, Adam, we weren't talking about it anymore for a long time.
It's come up in the state of Utah as well. There's been groups that have tried to push it, and it just hasn't gone anywhere. It's not going to pass the state of Utah, I don't think, and it never has as it has been brought forward. But there was an opinion by the American Bar Association,
right?
And he is leaning on that opinion quite a bit. It says it stresses that no time limit was included in the text of the Equal Rights Amendment. And stresses that the Constitution's framers wisely avoided the chaos that would have resulted if states were able to take back the ratifying votes in time. Okay. And before, we've actually had an amendment. Oh, my gosh, I think it's the 26th Amendment. That you can't grant yourself a pay raise in the current whatever. It's this innocuous one. And that was a law school student that actually saw it on the books and passed Congress in the early 1800s. And so he said, oh, my gosh, this passed Congress. I'm going to go get this ratified with all the states. It's kind of a law school project. And it worked. and it actually got passed and is now an amendment to the Constitution. But this one was different. When Congress passed it, they actually added language in the bill, not the text of the constitutional amendment, but said that we actually are putting a time limit on this. Like, we're good right now, but you only have 10 years.
You know, I would say this about the Equal Rights Amendment. When it came out, when we were talking about it in the 70s, of course, I was a kid. You may not have even been around.
I wasn't even a kid when this deadline passed.
72. I was 15 years old. But anyway, I just remember thinking it was controversial at the time. People were talking about, everybody's going to have to share the same bathrooms. We're going to have, people that you have to do this and you have to do that. And for every man that's hired in this position, you have to hire a woman. And people thought these bizarre things would happen. But I would say this, and I'm going to get in trouble with my feminist friends, because I am a huge supporter of the Equal Rights Amendment. I'm not sure, I'm going to get in trouble, that we need it anymore. I think we're doing everything in this country.
You've passed the Lilly Ledbetter Act for equal pay.
Right.
You can't discriminate on the basis of sex.
Right. We have done so much, even in this state and country, where we're doing things. We've got Title IX that deals with colleges. We've got certain things that are in place. I think we've enacted the Equal Rights Amendment without enacting it in large part. I applaud Biden. No, I don't. I think his idea was great. Doing it on, it's not the 11th hour. It's the 11th hour and 58th minute of his presidency.
He's done.
Is a little bit problematic.
He's done. In our last 30 seconds, I want to just go, since the election has been over and Biden is not going to win, even just some things that affect Utah, that his EPA reclassified northern Wasatch Front into a non-attainment zone. And so they put all sorts of penalties on the state. They locked up thousands of miles of road in Moab and around the San Rafael swell. It's just one thing after another. They've changed Title IX and revenue sharing with women's sports and left everyone scrambling in the 11th hour, like you said. And we don't know what's going to happen on January 21st.
I know. And we're going to talk about in the next segment about TikTok, which is another, TikTok is appropriate word for it, but the clock is running there too. And we're down to the 11th hour and 59th minute on that as well. And that's something the Supreme Court has just weighed in on. When we come back after the break, we're going to talk about TikTok, talk about what the Supreme Court has decided and not decided, and see where that is. Stay with us.
The newest part of your morning, and still so familiar.
When you wake up and listen to a radio show, it's like you're a part of a family. You're listening in on people you know, and it's magnificent that Andy Farnsworth is sitting in the chair because he's someone we know.
Utah's Morning News. Andy Farnsworth joins Amanda Dixon to bring you important news in the car. 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
If you're trying to decide which gutter protection to put on your home, don't just ask how they'll handle leaves. Ask how they'll handle ice. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and that's right, ice. See, plenty of gutter guards are good at keeping out leaves, but most are made with flimsy materials that can bend, buckle, and break under the weight of too much ice. Kind of a big problem in an icy state like Utah, right? At RGS Exteriors, our exclusive gutter protection systems are built Utah tough. They're made with premium strength materials that hold up to 1,200 pounds of ice per square foot. Simply put, they're not going to budge. Our gutter guards are also certified to handle hurricane-level winds and rain. Mother Nature can't damage them. Guaranteed. Utah Tough Products. That's the RGS way. For a free estimate, call 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's rgsexteriors.com or 801-280-3110.
There she is, founder and CEO. High five.
Dave can't stop celebrating with every business owner in town.
All right, Baker Man, high five.
He's sharing the excitement of big savings with the Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee.
Oh, up top, Bike Shop. Yeah.
It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
Quick, high five.
5 years of advanced security.
5 years.
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Yeah, law partners. Chamberlain, Messethorpe, Dubois.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability. Switch today and get the 5-year price lock guarantee.
5 years.
It's back, but only for a limited time.
Woo!
Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
Can't forget you, voiceover guy.
Ah, thanks, Dave.
High five.
Ends 3/9/25. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge for new customers on qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
Now is the time to enjoy a new dream home for $399,900. Fieldstone Homes has the best value in Eagle Mountain. And now is the time to check out Cedar Grove and Antelope Meadows. These homes stand out with open floor plans, 2-story great rooms, large yards, James Hardy exteriors, and room to grow with unfinished basements. Enjoy the exclusive amenities, including a pool, clubhouse, and parks. They are gorgeous. If you've started your home search or are about to, you need to stop by our 4 model homes. Experience the value. Come see what Fieldstone Homes has to offer this Saturday, January 18th at Cedar Grove and Antelope Meadows in Eagle Mountain for free food and giveaways. When it comes to quality, value, and the best overall new home solutions, look to Fieldstone Homes this Saturday at Cedar Grove and Antelope Meadows in Eagle Mountain. Visit fieldstonehomes.com. Fieldstone Homes. It's time.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers, but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at kslnewsradio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. A unanimous ruling this morning from the United States Supreme Court saying that TikTok's arguments of First Amendment free speech violations through this ban are not warranted. This means that the ban continues and TikTok will go dark on Sunday unless they find a buyer between now and then, which they said won't happen. So we're going to start a little bit with a legal look on this, and we're going to play a little bit of sound from ABC News' Devin Dwyer with more on the opinion.
It does look like Chief Justice John Roberts saying that TikTok's argument that this law passed by large bipartisan majorities of Congress, signed by President Biden, does not violate the First Amendment rights of the company or its 170 million users here in the United States. The justices explain at length how a law like this one meets a significant government interest of protecting the United States national security for a number of concerns.
So yeah, what we're talking about a little bit is TikTok brought the action. First of all, Congress passed the bill, like, as you said just a minute ago, and gave TikTok 270 days, 9 months. I was trying to do the math, and said you've got to shut down or you have to find an American buyer, which is really what their intent was, on or before January 19th, 2025, which I don't know if it was a coincidence or not, but Trump takes office the next day.
That's what it was meant to do, I think.
Yeah,
I think
so too. So here we are. I almost wonder, Adam, if it wasn't a bit of a bluff. Like, surely TikTok will get a buyer, but they didn't. Instead, they went the legal route, and they filed a petition in the federal court, which they're required to do, went to a federal judge, a trial judge, and said, you need to put a stay on this law. You can't let this law go into effect because it violates the First Amendment. And before I get into the First Amendment argument, I'll talk to you just about the nuts and bolts of it. The judge said it doesn't violate the First Amendment. it went then to the Court of Appeals, the Circuit Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit. Same thing. They argue First Amendment violation. You can't let this go into effect. Congress had no right to do this. It's unconstitutional. Court of Appeals said, no, it's not. It does not violate the First Amendment. So it went to the Supreme Court. And if you recall, Supreme Court arguments on this were like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I mean, they had no time to do this, but they had no choice because the law goes into effect on the 19th. And so we had to get something done. So they argue it before the Supreme Court. Like you said, it's a per curiam decision, a unanimous decision, although 2 justices wrote what we call concurring opinions. They said, look, we agree with the result, but we don't like how you got there. We're going to find that the result was the same. The law is constitutional, but not for the reasons you state. So it's a unanimous decision of the Supreme Court. It's done. I mean, TikTok has no other legal remedy right now, and they have, 48 hours to divest themselves.
Do they have a remedy with the president?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And that actually, it's a great question. The president has, and this sort of follows what we talked about in the last segment, some executive authority. And one thing he can do, and this would include both Biden and Trump, is to stay by executive order the imposition of the law. They can say, look, the law's there. The Supreme Court has found that it's constitutional. Congress has passed it. So the president's not going to, they don't have any authority to set it aside. But they can say, we're going to give TikTok, we're going to give the side, everybody 90 days to sort this out. And in other words, TikTok may get a reprieve only in terms of the time they have to sell their app.
But the president of the United States can't say, hey, you no longer have to sell it. He has to enforce this law passed by Congress and signed by the president of the United States.
Now, the incoming president of the United States and even the outgoing president have both expressed some reservations about the law.
Which is nuts to me.
Right. Trump could go to his Congress and say, you need to change this. You need to go back and have a do-over, which they could technically do. I mean, it's their law. They can tweak it or amend it or take it out of the books. Whether that occurs, I don't know. He's shown a little bit of sympathy toward TikTok, and who knows where that's going to go. I also think, well, let's talk about the First Amendment issue for just a minute. TikTok said it violates the First Amendment, and every court has said there's no restriction on speech. TikTok can still say anything they want. And so their First Amendment argument sort of fell on its face.
They're still protected.
Yeah, you're absolutely protected. You guys can say anything you want. You just can't be owned by a Chinese company, which is a different issue than you don't have the right to express.
It's a national security issue. It has nothing to do with what you're saying.
Right.
It's all with the idea of who is controlling what you're saying.
Right.
What your algorithm is. That's the biggest component.
Right. And so TikTok argued, and I circled this, that it's not a infringement on the First Amendment, but it's a disproportionate burden on First Amendment activities to require a provider, a newspaper, or in this case, an app, anybody, a TV station, to divest themselves within a certain period of time. That it in effect does affect their First Amendment rights, because who can do that? But the court said, look, you've had 9 months. We're not restricting your speech at all. We're just restricting your ownership. And like you said, and I think that's the core of this whole thing, it's a national security versus First Amendment issue. And when we're talking about China and we're talking about national security, there's such a heightened fear right now. There's such a heightened concern right now in this country about Chinese government getting information about American youth, that I think that we're putting those two things side by side and saying, you know what, in some cases, maybe we're going to not call it, they call it a strict scrutiny standard. When you look at First Amendment issues, and the court said, we're not going to hear this case based on a strict scrutiny standard. We're going to say, does it make more sense than not? In other words, when you deal with First Amendment issues, boy, the bar's pretty high. But the Supreme Court has said, not in this case, because we're not talking about regulating speech. We're talking about this disproportionate burden that TikTok has claimed, which we don't think really exists.
Well, it kind of reminds me of, you're saying national security and you're saying First Amendment, freedom of speech. In this case, I don't think they overlap. In the past, they have.
Right.
You have
John
Adams with the Alien and Sedition Acts. You have Woodrow Wilson. Neighbors were spying on each other, and you did not have free speech at all under those presidents. because there was such that a heightened level of fear.
Right.
The government today is not saying you're not allowed to say anything. I mean, I even get bugged because I see Hamas supporters being able to shut down roads and they're supporting terrorism. And we don't shut that down at all.
Right.
And what we're talking about here is the Chinese government is taking control of a company's algorithm and spreading false information and trying to change the way that American citizens, namely kids, how they think. And that is where I have a problem. There is problems with child trafficking on the app that they won't fix or get rid of because they don't care. Drug trafficking and fentanyl, which they like because they are pumping it into American cities, so they're okay with it. Showing that that China is the greatest government in the world, and we're seeing that as millions of TikTokers flee to Red Note, which is another Chinese-owned app. It's just called Red Note because it's after Mao's Little Red Book.
Oh, really?
And so they're going straight into the communist dragon's mouth. And, you know, it's just really interesting to me. I think the Supreme Court made the right decision. I think that the Congress made the right decision. I think that Biden made the right decision in signing this. And I think that Biden and Trump are now both wrong as
when they say they might put a stay on it.
Oh, we want to put a stay on it. We don't know if it's that bad. You had 9 months to sell this thing. You've known for 2 years this was coming. It's time to act or get out of the way. And when they actually did receive some offers onto this, they actually would not sell the algorithm with the platform.
Right.
And if that doesn't tell you that these are the bad guys, I don't know what does.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've only got a minute left, but the Supreme Court went on to talk about what TikTok does. And this is interesting. I think we all knew this. I'm not a TikTok user, but they say TikTok collects user data, user content, behavioral data, including keystroke patterns and rhythms, and device and network data, including device contacts and calendars. In other words, it extends to the age, phone number, precise location, internet address, device used, phone contacts, social network connections. I mean, their algorithm collects a lot of really personal information, and from that, they can gain a lot of information, apparently or ostensibly, about American youth and patterns and what people are thinking and doing.
When Inside Sources returns, we're going to stick with the news of TikTok's future, but we're going to be focusing instead of the legal side. Now we're going to move over to the political aspects of this decision. We're going to be right back.
Good afternoon. It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top national story this hour. President-elect Donald Trump will take the oath of office from inside the Capitol Rotunda on Monday because of the intense cold weather. The president-elect says the weather forecast for D.C. with the wind chill factor could take temperatures into record lows. Mr. Trump says he doesn't want to see people hurt. The swearing-in was last moved indoors in 1985 when President Ronald Reagan began his second term. The future of TikTok is in limbo. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that the ban on TikTok is constitutional. President Biden says he will not enforce it in his final days. President-elect Trump has spoken out against the ban. So KSL legal analyst Greg Skorda says this issue is far from over.
TikTok has asked that the act be stayed, that it not go into effect. The issues regarding its constitutionality and whatnot can still be sorted out in a trial court. But what's been happening right now is just addressing what we call a preliminary injunction. Just don't put the law into effect right now.
ByteDance could sell the app, which could save the app, but a sale doesn't appear imminent. And just into the newsroom, a USU student has been arrested in connection with the evacuation at a student housing facility near the campus. Logan police responded to calls of a hazmat situation last night. They say a student had a mixture of chemicals in his room. The investigation is ongoing. Taking a look at the markets at this hour, the Dow is up by 385 points, sitting at 43,538. S&P up by 65, and the NASDAQ up by nearly 300 points. Cold front is moving in tonight. Coming up, we'll check the forecast, and that haze is going to be gone, hopefully. KSL News Time 1:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, Wake up, brush teeth, Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with the sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a honey buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
Lowe's knows how to help make your Super Bowl 59 party a touchdown. Let us help you prep your home to host with top brands like Charbroil, Blackstone, and LG, so you can be the MVP of game day. Plus, use the Lowe's app to find what you need for a seamless shopping run. Or huddle up with our Lowe's Red Vest associates to help make all your game time hosting decisions.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and over the years, you've heard me praise the Connecticut soft water systems. You've heard that so often, you might be tempted to chuck a shoe at your radio. Well, hang on, because I've got some great news. Get this, Connecticut will pay you $50. I'm not kidding on this. They'll pay you $50 to buy a competing water softener from another dealer. Ready for the rules, though? Well, they're pretty simple. Invite Connecticut of Utah to your home for a free estimate on a Connecticut water softener. If within 60 days of hearing them out, you buy any other system from any other water softener dealer, Connecticut of Utah will fork over $50. That's how sure they are that after hearing them out, you won't settle for anything less than a Connecticut water softener. Now, this offer does expire in 30 days, so don't delay. Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com. Tell them Doug sent you.
Tay-Tay was a typical girl that loved pink, singing, and all kinds of animals. At 3 years old, she tumbled off a horse and received a traumatic brain injury. Her family prayed for a miracle, and when they realized their daughter would not survive, they made the decision to donate her organs. Because of her donation, 4 other people received her organs and tissue, allowing others to live. Go to donorconnect.life and read about what it takes to become a donor. Did you know many people think that they're too old and not in good enough health to be a donor? Anyone can be a donor. If you were told that it could save a life for someone close to you, or even a stranger, would you please donate? Finding out more on why you should become a donor is pretty easy. DonorConnect.life can walk you through the process and what it takes to simply sign up. Check yes to become a donor when you renew your driver's license. Give hope, heal life. DonorConnect.life.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by My Style Checking from Mountain America Credit Union. Here's Ricky Meese.
A good-looking drive on all the Valley freeways, no problems there. Salt Lake City PD wrapping up a crash at 3rd West, about 1400 South. Lagoon is hiring full-time year-round ride maintenance technicians and electricians with journeyman or apprentice-level experience. Apply online at lagoonpark.com/jobs. Must be 18 years of age or older to apply. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Cloudy skies today with a high of 41 degrees, but things are going to be changing tomorrow. Looks like our temperature is going to drop down at least 10 degrees and a chance of showers tomorrow, about a 30% chance of showers. Right now, 36 degrees. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories, only on KSL News Radio.
And I think, Adam, this has to be one of the biggest stories maybe of the week. Of course, there's so much going on. Our legislature starting next week. We've got a new president going to be sworn in. But we've all been sitting back wondering what's going to happen to TikTok. And I only say that's a big story because 170 million Americans use TikTok. That's more than voted, probably. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of people. And 170 million Americans may very well be without that app in 2 days. Because the law that we talked about in the last segment, which was the law Congress passed 9 months ago that gave TikTok the option of either getting out of the United States or divesting itself of Chinese ownership. In other words, you're going to sell the ByteDance part of TikTok to an American buyer, I think is what they said. And you got to do it by January 19, 2025, or you're going to shut down the app. TikTok took the route, and we talked about this in the last segment, of challenging the law, saying it's unconstitutional. It violates the First Amendment. You're restricting our speech. Every court, from the district court to the circuit court to now the Supreme Court, as of today, have said, no, it doesn't. You have all the First Amendment rights in the world. Keep your app. Put anything you want on there. But you can't be owned by China. So there we go. And there are no more appeals for TikTok. The only thing they can do now, and I think this is what a lot of people are wondering, is go to the president, because the president of the United States, Adam, has the ability to extend the ban by 90 days.
And we got a text question in about this very thing.
Right, which said, well, could Biden extend it for 90 days and then Trump extend it for 90 days? I don't see that happening. First of all, I don't know that I don't think that
the law doesn't.
The law says 90 days. But I would also say this: the law also requires that both parties are working on and they're making what they say significant progress toward a binding agreement. TikTok has said, we're not selling it. There's nobody. We're not actively trying to sell it still. We it's out there, but they're not going to cross that threshold. I think it's going to be very hard for them to get this extension. Now, we're wondering about what the Biden administration is going to do. ABC White House correspondent Karen Travers gave this reaction from the Biden administration to this ban. Maybe. Anyway,
the White House says in a statement it will be the incoming Trump administration that has to implement the law banning TikTok, which goes into effect Sunday, the day before President Biden leaves office. The Biden administration could but won't take any enforcement action Sunday, meaning it won't fine any tech companies that keep TikTok up and running. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says the president's position on TikTok has been clear. It should remain available to Americans, but under American ownership or other ownership that addresses the national security concerns identified by Congress. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
So that doesn't seem to signal much hope for TikTok as it relates to Biden. What they didn't say there was whether he would give them the 90-day reprieve. They're sort of saying it's going to be Trump's problem the next day. I mean, it's kind of weird to think TikTok could be banned for a day, the 19th, and then Trump comes in on the 20th and gives them the 90-day reprieve. I don't know, Adam, something makes me feel like somebody's going to stop this from occurring.
Let's not forget why we actually set the date, why Congress set the date of the 19th. It's because if you go back even further, Donald Trump, when he was president of the United States, said that TikTok was kind of a clear and present danger to the United States of America. It was reaping the data of 170 million Americans, and it was being controlled by the Chinese government and the PLA. And then when he's out of office, he has some billionaire friends that come to him and say, hey, we're investors in TikTok and this really matters to us. And lo and behold, he changes his mind and it's no longer a clear and present danger to him. And so he backs off and says, I actually love TikTok. And the campaign creates a TikTok account. And so he swings completely the other way, which in my opinion is one, kind of inappropriate, and two, it shows our allies and our adversaries that we could be changed with money and assets and things like that. And so it became very clear to Congress that who wanted to ban TikTok, they needed to do it. Even the Republicans saw this. We got to do it before President Trump gets in. Even though this would give him a win, he's not going to take it. So we got to do it right now. And they put it for January 19th, 2025, in case Donald Trump didn't win again. Or if he did win again, he had no choice but to let it shut down, which is what they wanted to begin with.
And here's what Republican Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri said about that exact issue this morning.
President Trump, under the law, can delay any implementation for 90 days with the stroke of a pen. The law permits that. I would expect he'd probably do that in order to facilitate further discussions about a sale.
Yeah, and he went on to say this in terms of that sale.
It's a national security concern. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of big tech generally, to put it mildly.
So he's signaling that he believes Trump will grant that the law permits that, and I expect he probably would do that in order to facilitate further discussions about a sale. So, I mean, Biden could do it as well. It's odd to me that they would have this ban go into effect on the 19th and then Trump signs something on the 20th, you'd think
He's a little non-conventional, though. What does he care? But right? I mean, I feel like he's just gonna. It could be 3 weeks, and he could just decide. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna just decide to give the 90 days and see where this goes.
But the question is, what happens during that time? You know what I mean? The law goes into effect, even if it went into effect for 1 day.
I also don't quite understand the enforcement of this bill.
That's the big question.
How does it go dark? Is it that it gets taken off of everybody's phone? Does Google and Android and Apple, do they actually have to remove it from people's phones? Are they responsible?
The short answer to that is yes.
So they would have to completely delete it.
And moving forward, prospectively, it's easy. You just don't make the app available to anyone who you can't download
there's
it anymore.
170 million people that have it.
Exactly. What do you do with them? That's the $1 million question, billion-dollar question, is what do you do with them? And I think you're right. These providers have to do something about removing it from their system.
I mean, on Sunday, it's just going to, like, with a snap of a finger, just be gone off of your phone.
170 million people. And what this does to TikTok, I mean, you've got to imagine 170 million viewers, people that participate in that, losing that. It's probably the majority of their audience, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I think influencers, oh man, I hate that term. I think influencers who use social media on TikTok, that's their highest paying, most viewed platform. So that's where they kind of make their money. And then Instagram and Facebook and X, that's kind of ancillary. That's just bonus. So you're going to have a lot of these people. This is why we've watched videos as we're preparing for the show of these influencers just breaking down, crying. This is my livelihood. I'm moving to China, which let's also remind listeners that TikTok is banned in China.
Right.
It is not legal.
Yeah, let's hear what the top Democrats are saying about this. This is Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal answering questions about this morning.
TikTok is a threat to our national security and ought to be sold, not banned, but sold by the Chinese so they stop surveillance, illegal collection of information about Americans.
I mean, that sort of begs the question. That's why the law was passed. Oh, sure, we should sell it so China can't do this anymore. The question, though, that nobody seems to be answering is, how do we do that, and what does this really mean? And sort of going back to where we started here, do we give them just a 90-day break? I think that's probably going to happen. I mean, interesting to see what happens with TikTok. I'm not a user of TikTok. Never will be, but I see a lot of people
I want to
using
see it banned.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, you've got kids, so you have every reason to. When we come back after the break, let's go up on the Hill. Let's go locally, talk about some new legislation regarding kids and what we're doing on the Hill next week.
Have you heard about the huge clearance sale at Dave's Bernina in St. George and Provo through the 21st? Amazing bargains on trade-ins, classroom, and demo machines that come with warranties.
Save 50% or more with a 2-year guarantee and free classes on these previously loved machines.
The Bernina 735 is discounted and includes thousands of dollars of free accessories while supplies last.
Save hundreds to thousands of dollars on the Bernina 435, 535, and 735 machines. Ask about our 0% interest financing.
Come see the Bernina 990, the most amazing revolutionary sewing machine in the world.
Specially priced and receive over $2,000 worth of free Bernina accessories, 25% off Bernina walking feet. And we have a great price and limited supply of the Bernina 770 Cafe machine.
It's time to buy a better machine and get a Bernina.
Don't miss this January clearance sale.
Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
Do you have any idea how hard your heating system has to work when your old windows let the cold air seep in? Your energy bill is going through the roof. But there's an answer, and it comes from Advanced Window Products. For 38 years, they've been building state-of-the-art insulated windows and frames, and every one of them is built right here in Utah. So let me explain why it's cost-effective to call them for new windows right now. First, you'll see a significant drop in your energy bills, winter and summer, and right now, call Advanced Windows and you'll get $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Triple-coated, argon-filled and sealed double-pane insulated glass that'll keep out the cold, and custom frames in any style, any color. Advanced Windows offers a 60-month, 0% interest payment plan, and they even offer a plan with no payment, no interest for 24 months. Plus, that $2,500 off right now. Call for a no-pressure consultation, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
Kick off 2025 with a bang at Paris RV, and with 5 awesome bunkhouse RVs that sleep 5 and are blowout priced at only $13,995 or $159 per month. Your choice. Grab the Heartland Prowler Lynx, the Cruiser Avenir A17BH, hook up to the Forest River Cherokee Wolf Den 16 EV, all electric, or back up to the Forest River FXX 17-foot bunkhouse, or maybe the Catalina Summit Series 7 164 BHX. 5 awesome bunkhouse RVs at one low price. Go to parisrv.com.
At the Utah Auto Expo, we have a vehicle for almost everything. Grocery getting, sports car cruising, luxuriating, and adventure seeking. Heck, we have a whole section for adventure seekers called Adventure Utah. The Auto Expo has a vast selection of vehicles from different manufacturers all in one place. It's a great place to comparative shop. We have a vehicle for almost everything, and we certainly have a vehicle for your thing. The Utah Auto Expo, Mountain America Expo Center, January 17th through the 20th. Plenty of free parking for your current car. Go to AutoExpoUtah.com for tickets.
Ooh, ma. What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business calm at ooma.com/radio.
I don't feel so good.
You do feel hot. Dayquil Kids will take care of that fever.
What about my cough?
Dayquil Kids has that covered.
Will it make my throat feel better?
Yes, that too.
But will it taste good?
Yep, Dayquil Kids comes in your favorite flavor.
Purple?
Well, yes, it's grape.
Try new Dayquil Kids Plus Fever, the daytime coughing, aching, sore throat fever just for kids medicine. Safe for kids 6+. Use as directed.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. On Tuesday, the Utah State Legislature will gather on Capitol Hill to begin the 2025 Legislative General Session. Today, we're finishing up our weeks-long preview of bills that will be introduced. Now, keep in mind, we have about 300, maybe 400 bills that have been numbered. And these are bills that have been worked on all year long, and once they get numbered, that means you can't make any changes to the bill except through the legislative process. So once they're numbered, you can go on le.utah.gov and you can track any bill that's out there right now. So we're going to have 500 plus bills pass this session. We're going to have about 1,500 bills introduced. So there's a lot of bills that won't actually
make it to the floor.
Yeah, two-thirds of the bills won't make it through the process at all. But we're going to see about 500 pass. And one of those bills that already has the main sponsor in the Senate, and already has a House sponsor lined up, ready to go, and some folks that have done their due diligence. This has been studied during interim. Now, interim is where the legislature meets just periodically during the year, once a month, to talk through different issues that need more in-depth study. And this is one of those issues. And we've talked a little bit about it on Inside Sources, Greg, where it seems to just be in the news a lot lately, where it's child welfare and abuse. And so we've seen some horrific things being happening down in southern Utah with the Frankie family, with this poor kid that died. He was tortured by his parents and his uncles and things up in Weber County. We've seen some horrible things happen. The legislature took that very seriously, and we're actually going to have a bill on this. And we're very lucky on the show to have a friend of the show, Senator Don Ipson. Senator Ipson, thanks so much for joining us.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Senator Ipson, in addition to being one of the nicest, funniest people you've ever met, also makes the meanest chicken you've ever had, an Ernie's chicken, if you have one in a convenience store by your house.
I gotta go.
They're fantastic. It's fantastic. But Senator Ipson also cares about people. He cares about law enforcement issues and has just been remarkable on a lot of these things. So, Senator Ipson, can you give our listeners an overview of what this bill does?
So this bill come to us is, torture cases. And so the criminal penalties and the guidelines for first-time offenders of child torture face no prison time, with incarceration recommended only for those with extensive criminal histories. This bill changes that and makes it so that they can be charged, takes of a second-degree felony to a first-degree felony, and the sentencing guideline puts it at 10 years.
Yeah.
This is a horrific thing that we've seen happening, and it's got to stop. We got to have some kind of a deterrent that keeps people from this kind of behavior. I can't imagine anybody treating their own children, in any human being for that matter, but let alone your own children, out of the world. It's just mind-boggling that I can't relate to even thinking that way, to treat your children that way. It's just not anything I can get my head around.
And Senator Ipson, sometimes it takes something like what Adam talked about when we came back about certain cases and certain situations that are so egregious that maybe we need to do something about them. And over the years, I practiced law for 43 years. I've seen a lot of crimes that we've decided to enhance. And Senator Ipson, you talked about this just a second ago, which is to say, instead of a second-degree felony, for example, we make it a first-degree felony. And some crimes are so outrageous, and I think this is in your language as well, Senator, that a judge doesn't have the authority to grant probation, right? In certain circumstances where child torture there's a conviction, it's one of those crimes where imprisonment is mandatory, correct?
That's right. That's the way the bill's drafted, and it's going to have some headwinds. The Defense Attorneys Association is going to, they want to tweak it. So this bill was heard in interim, and I give my word that I wouldn't run this bill as a committee bill without another hearing in the Senate in the first part of the session. So that's where it's headed. We'll have a chance for everybody to weigh in on this, and hopefully we'll get it right.
Okay, so you mentioned that the defense attorneys might be against that. Are they against this just type of issue, like with child welfare and abuse, or do the defense attorney? I'm giving the
you're giving me the
sarcastic
defense attorney
eyes
evil eye here
to Greg Skordas here. Are they just against, in general, enhanced penalties all the time? Is that what their issue is?
I think all of the above. That's their job, is to protect the people that they're representing, and so I understand that. That's how the process works. Is all sides of a situation come together, and you see a bill amended 4 or 5 times. By the time it's done and finished, it's a pretty good bill because it has everybody's input into it. And we intend to do that with this, but we're going to hold firm that we got to have some penalties, and some people just can't get away with this kind of behavior.
I will answer your question, Adam, and Senator Ipson did a good job. But every once in a while you get a situation where, and I've talked to judges, they kind of like Utah's system with a first-degree felony is 5 to life, second degree is 1 to 15, but they have the authority. But when the legislature comes in, and I'm not being critical, Senator, at all, because I think there are certainly times when you have to do this, and they tell a judge, you have to impose prison. You can't, it's mandatory. That's when some judges and even attorneys feel like, well, what are we doing? You know what I mean? I mean,
You're saying,
can understand.
What am I here for?
Yeah,
if
I have to, where's my discretion as a judge? So what this bill does is two things, and one is it makes this child abuse torture, instead of a second-degree felony, a first-degree felony. So judges already have a tremendous degree of higher discretion, but then it takes a little bit of that back and says, and I'm playing devil's advocate because I think Senator Ipsen's explained it better than I have, and you're telling a judge, not only do you have to impose that's the sentence, but you have to impose it. You have no choice.
In the last minute here, we have a minute left. Is there one issue or one case specifically that made you want to bring this bill?
Well, I think we talked about both cases, both the Washington County case and where the torture was just horrific. And then we got the one in Weber County that it was beyond horrific, and the child actually lost his life. And we got to be able to protect the innocent, that nobody else is there to protect them. If their own parents won't protect them, somebody has to.
Well, and I think, Senator Ipsen, thank you so much for being on the show, and thank you so much for bringing this bill. And I think you hit the nail right on the head. Someone has to protect these kids, and it's kind of a good a middle lane here. We're not telling the state to get more involved in parents' lives, but what we're saying is there's going to be consequences for your actions, and I think it seems to me at first glance here, this is what Senator Ipsen's bill does.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I think it's showing. Kind of their constituents, hey, we've seen this. We know you're upset. We're upset too. We're parents. This matters to us, and so we're going to actually kind of take the torch here, and we're going to do something. Coming up in the second hour of Inside Sources, our special coverage of the 2025 legislature continues, plus how Utah is preparing for a Trump administration. So stay with us because we are going to be right back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top story this hour. The U.S. Supreme Court has decided to uphold the law to ban TikTok. President-elect Donald Trump, though, is considering executive action to keep the app alive. The CEO of TikTok, Shu Chu, released a video this afternoon thanking Trump for his efforts.
I want to thank President Trump for his commitment to work with us to find a solution that keeps TikTok available in the United States.
The ban is scheduled to happen on Sunday if China-owned parent company ByteDance does not sell its stake. Some Utah lawmakers are sighing a breath of relief since the Supreme Court ruling. Representative Blake Moore tells David Dujanovic there's a difference in the motive behind China tracking U.S. data and U.S. companies tracking user patterns.
It's a difference of, a U.S.-based firm trying to understand the trends for advertising purposes versus a Chinese Communist Party trying to understand areas where they can influence.
Moore says the ban also prevents China from gaining ground in the U.S., and that includes preventing their main technology company from building infrastructure like cell towers. Taking a look at your money at this moment, ending the week, the Dow up 334 points, 0.75% to end at 43,487. The S&P up by 60, and the NASDAQ, it's up by nearly 300 points. Get ready for colder temperatures. The weather's going to change tomorrow. We'll check your weather and the traffic coming up next.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Now is the time to enjoy a new dream home for $399,900. Fieldstone Homes has the best value in Eagle Mountain. And now is the time to check out Cedar Grove and Antelope Meadows. These homes stand out with open floor plans, 2-story great rooms, large yards, James Hardy exteriors, and room to grow with unfinished basements. Enjoy the exclusive amenities, including a pool, clubhouse, and parks. They are gorgeous. If you've started your home search or are about to, you need to stop by our 4 model homes. Experience the value. Come see what Fieldstone Homes has to offer this Saturday, January 18th at Cedar Grove and Antelope Meadows in Eagle Mountain for free food and giveaways. When it comes to quality, value, and the best overall new home solutions, look to Fieldstone Homes this Saturday at Cedar Grove and Antelope Meadows in Eagle Mountain. Visit fieldstonehomes.com. Fieldstone Homes. It's time.
Peyton was a very kind and giving person. At 15 years old, he sustained life-threatening injuries from a motorcycle accident that took his life. His family felt like Peyton would want to save others and made the decision to donate his organs. Because of their generosity, his organs saved a 2-year-old girl, a teenage boy, and others that were desperate in need of life-saving organs. Go to donorconnect.life and read about what it takes to become a donor. Did you know many people think that they're too old or not in good enough health to be a donor? Anyone can be a donor. If you were told that it could save the life for someone close to you, or even a stranger, would you donate? Finding out more on why you should become a donor is easy. DonorConnect.life can walk you through the process and what it takes to simply sign up. Check yes to become a donor when you renew your driver's license. Give hope. Heal life. DonorConnect.life.
Hi, this is Julie. Come chill with us in Logan where we do winter right. Okay, this is super cool, and I mean that literally. Bring your binoculars and bundle up. Take a horse-drawn sleigh ride through a herd of 600 elk at Hardware Ranch. Get up close to these majestic animals on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. We're also home to Beaver Mountain and Cherry Peak ski resorts where you can ski, snowboard, or go tubing on a 500-foot hill. The best part is they have a magic carpet that drags your carcass to the top of the hill so you don't even have to. Need more adrenaline? Rent snowmobiles at Beaver Creek Lodge to explore the beautiful mountains, miles of powder, and groomed trails too. For more frosty fun, try indoor ice skating. It doesn't matter how coordinated you are or aren't. This totally cracks me up. You can rent skates and helmets and even a walker. Perfect! Or just cozy up to the fireplace at a historic bed and breakfast or comfortable hotel. Enjoy live concerts and theater performances and delicious dining options. More info at explorelogan.com/winter. That's explorelogan.com/winter. Logan, we're cool like that.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by My Style Checking from Mountain America Credit Union. Here's Ricky Meese.
Well, crews have just cleared the accident that we had near Stansbury Park at SR 36 Main Street into Willa County. Really didn't cause any delays, but right now you are going to see a much smoother drive through the area. Nice and quiet on I-15, and that's both directions between Ogden and Provo. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Get ready for a change in the forecast. We have a little storm system moving in. Today's high 41, cloudy and hazy, but that little storm system is going to clean out our air. But the temperature will also drop tomorrow to about 10 degrees, taking our temperature down into the low 30s. Right now, 35 degrees from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
And a new legislative session is just, 4 days away. Welcome back to the second hour of Inside Sources. I'm Greg Skordas alongside Adam Gardner. And one thing that I have been aware of, among other things in my years of practicing law, are what are called reporting requirements. That is to say, under certain circumstances, if you are a medical professional or a mental health professional or legal professional in some instances, and you become aware of instances of child abuse, you can't just treat, you have to report. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It requires, the law requires that certain groups, certain agencies have mandatory reporting requirements. Now, this has been controversial, but by and large, I think it's worked pretty well. I mean, I really do. And so we're lucky to have with us this afternoon Christine Watkins, who is sponsoring a bill regarding child welfare reporting requirements. And it's not, they're not, excuse me, a lot of huge additions to it, but it requires DCFS to notify law enforcement in certain situations. I'll let the sponsor talk about it. Representative Watkins, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Great to be here.
And how badly did I butcher your bill?
Just a little.
Okay. Help me out. Help me out. And thanks for your honesty.
Okay, and it didn't start out as my bill. This bill went through the Rules Review and General Oversight Committee, and it was actually Representative Birkeland who was going to run this bill. And as we all know, she resigned. But I love the bill. And so, she can hand off bills to anybody, and that's all been done. I requested this bill, and because I think it's so important, and it's something that I have dealt with a lot during my legislative career. And so what this bill does is we have people in our communities. You talked about medical people and maybe teachers and those kind of people who really have an obligation to report something if they see something with a child that's not good. Well, what we have is we have ex-spouses, ex-boyfriend, girlfriends, sometimes in-laws that are angry at a certain person, and it can be a mom or a dad. But they're real angry. And so what they do is they weaponize the reporting system, and they do false reporting time after time after time. And DCFS is pretty much obligated to go investigate that person every time someone reports. And so for some of these cases, they know they're okay. They've already done all this investigating, and yet they still get all of this reporting. So this bill allows DCFS to report to the police departments that someone has made a false claim. And they don't even have to do a lot of investigation if they already know that this is what's happened. And a certified letter will be sent to those people saying you're being charged with a crime for falsely going against someone.
Wow. I like that, Bill. I
kind of like this. And just to relate my own experience, I have a relative who is a police detective. And I heard about someone I used to go to school with that there was some tit for tat, and they were reporting on each other for abusing their kids. They had multiple kids, and so I talked to my relative who's the detective. Talk to me about this. How does this happen? Are you investigating this? And they said, yeah. What happens is the wife will call right before they're supposed to go to court. They have some sort of court date, and she'll call the police and say that there's abuse in the home. And he says, and I try to follow up all the time. But
he doesn't have a choice.
Because he doesn't have a choice. And she never wants to talk to me. She never wants to push it. She just wants it on the record. And then after the court date comes and goes, then she drops it. And he says, and this happens with multiple people that I have to do this and spend my time investigating multiple people multiple times a year for the same thing. And he goes, there's never anything to it. So I actually really like what you're doing, and I think this is a great idea.
Well, and there's a consequence behind it. They can be charged with a Class B misdemeanor.
What does that mean?
And
What's a
whatever.
what's a Class B misdemeanor? What kind of charges
Greg,
are
would
those?
you follow up?
Yeah.
on that
Thank you. I was about to jump in. So Class B misdemeanors.
He was ready.
Some example. Yeah, I was going to jump on it anyway since I messed up my first question with you, Representative. Which is Class B misdemeanors are drunk driving, shoplifting. It's a mid-level misdemeanor. It's punishable by up to 6 months in jail, fine of up to $1,000. It's probably the most popular crime in terms of numbers of people charged. And it would seem to me, Representative Watkins, this is probably a good middle ground because it's not like it's a lot of time. 6 months is a lot of time in jail if you're really guilty of this stuff. But it's enough of a deterrent
Gets
to
your
where
attention.
you
Absolutely.
if, as a parent or an in-law or whatever, you would back off. You're not going to screw around with 6 months in jail.
We hope they sit up and pay attention and cut it out.
Representative,
because
go ahead.
It takes away time from DCF
exactly
doing the things they need to be doing that are really serious, and so they get stretched so thin, and this is one of the reasons.
Okay, now I love the bill. So let's move on. Thank you, Representative. I like it a lot because I deal with that, Representative Watkins. I deal with that where you have people come in and say this is just a part of something to manipulate the system because we're going through a custody battle, or this is something because we had a bad breakup or whatever. And then it ends up being proven that it's false and there's no consequence. So having a consequence will get people to think about that. Good for you. Good for you.
Well, and it keeps people stirred up. And we just don't need that. Let people move on.
We've got about 2 or 3 minutes left, Representative. Can you talk to us about the House Bill 83, the child welfare modifications, and what it does to the juvenile courts in terms of their ability to, it looks like, issue investigative warrants?
Yeah, this comes from the Gavin Peterson case, the little boy that died this summer in West Haven. And we had a lot of people who reported issues with him, and then he just dropped off the earth. He disappeared. Nobody ever saw him. There were people, honestly, that knew the family that didn't know that little boy was there, and because they kept him hidden. And so this allows, and the DCFS or police, if they go to the door and nobody answers, if they call on the phone and nobody answers, and they check it around and they can't find a child or children, they can keep going after them. But we give them the liberty of any time that they need to be able to go get a warrant to see that child or those children.
Okay, so
and that's what it is.
And they have to go. Do they just go by themselves? Do they DCFS? They go get a warrant. Do they have to bring police with them?
They would normally.
They can.
Yeah,
they can. If they think this is going to be uncomfortable or not safe, either side can ask for assistance, which, in my opinion, is smart in today's world. And so it just means they can go check on that welfare of that child. You cannot hide children. So we're asking neighbors and communities, if a child or children just stop being in the neighborhood and they're not in school and they're not in church or anywhere, somebody follow up on it.
I think it's a great idea.
And this allows them to legally do that.
Sure. And I think it's sort of an extension of what we've called welfare checks in the past, Adam, that gives law enforcement, and thank you, Representative Watkins, by the way, it gives law enforcement a little bit more of a hook, a little bit more of an ability to do something other than knock on a door and say, hey, is everything okay? You can get a warrant and actually go inside and confirm to yourself that everything's okay. Great idea. 2 good bills. A lot of fun. She's wonderful. When we come back after the break, let's finish our preview of the legislative session and talk about a bill that would address how Utah forms new counties. We'll talk.
Join the smartest conversation in Utah, the team of analysts and political advisors that make up Inside Sources. Get unfiltered analysis of the new administration, the president's cabinet, and Utah's upcoming legislative session. Inside Sources, weekdays from 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
If you've ever set New Year's resolutions before, you know how difficult it is to follow through because you have to wait to see the results. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and in honor of your New Year, New You resolutions, Any Hour Services is having our New Year, New System sale. From now until the end of February, Any Hour Services will give you $2,025 off a new furnace and air conditioner. And you don't have to wait to save the money. You get $2,025 off at the time of purchase. The only thing you have to do to qualify for our New Year, New System sale is call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate. When you call, there's no obligation to buy. Just schedule a time to meet that works best for you. Let me say that again. From now until the end of February, when you have Any Hour Services install a new furnace and air conditioner, we'll give you $2,025 off. Call Any Hour Services right now and schedule a free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Start the new year with J&J Garden Center's Plantastic Sales Event and experience a beautiful garden inside your home right now. This Monday through Saturday, shop the stock greenhouses at J&J Garden Center and enjoy 20% off all indoor plants, pots, and black gold all-purpose potting mix. Houseplants add to the beauty of your home, and they can also boost your mood, reduce stress, and purify indoor air. It's true. Plants make people happy. Shop the J&J Garden Center greenhouses for classic favorites and rare finds. The expert J&J Garden Center team will help you pick the perfect plant for any light condition and area of your home. J&J Garden Center open year-round with special winter hours Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Start the new year with J&J Garden Center's Plantastic Sales Event. Take Layton Parkway exit to Main Street and head west on Gentile Street in Layton. J&J Garden Center.
Attention home buyers, want to save hundreds on your mortgage payment or buy a bigger, nicer home? Visit SaveRight.com. This is Rod with the SaveRight team at Realty Path. SaveRight, our name says it all. SaveRight real estate clients often save $300 to $600 a month on their mortgage. Life of loan savings can be over $300,000. SaveRight clients qualify for and buy bigger, nicer homes. Interest rates are around 7%. SaveRight clients can get fixed rates in the 5s. Our affiliate lender makes it all possible. You can even start with a rate in the 2s. If you're buying or selling a home in Utah, save a ton of money. Hire the SaveRight team of realtors. Visit SaveRight.com for more information.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
There's renewed talk of changing the way Utah adds new counties. There's a bill set to be run in the coming legislative session to address it. A similar bill was run in 2019 by Representative Kim Coleman, who's no longer in the legislature, and her successor is State Representative Jordan Tusher. We don't have him on the show, so he can't defend himself here, but we're going to be talking a little bit about that 2019 bill and also talking about like what this means, what this is, what kind of brought it on. And in the last, probably 7 or 8 years, it's been a really hot topic with the county.
I'm surprised. I've not even heard about it.
So there's
the idea of splitting a county.
There's been a few issues, and I know Representative Coleman, I know from my time in the legislature, she would disagree with the county quite a bit over a whole host of things that they used to do. Ironically, she actually works for the county as an aide to a county council member. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I don't think she's there anymore. But what's interesting is the topics have to do with how the mountains, like the Ochre Mountains, are managed and who gets to oversee those and do the planning and everything else, because cities don't go up there. So the county has to do it all. And so how do we want it to look? West Siders are thinking they want it one way, but then you have the mayor, and I think, to my knowledge, except for Nancy Workman in 2000, all the mayors have lived in Salt Lake. And so they all live in Salt Lake City. Most of the county council lives in Salt Lake City. And so the argument here is, like, the West Siders and those at the south end of the county are saying, we are being governed as a county by just a bunch of people from Salt Lake City, and we don't appreciate that. And the funny thing is in Salt Lake City, they say we are completely different than the rest of the state, but we're being completely managed by the state. And so this happens all the time. What's interesting, though, is counties are a creature of the state. Counties and cities are created by the state, and the state rules over them. And so the state can decide to break up your county. They can decide to move the boundaries around. They can decide to add a new one. They could say, Salt Lake City, you are now a part of Daggett. There really isn't a limit to in my opinion, or to my knowledge, of what they can do. So have you heard this ever talked about, Greg, splitting the county?
In fact, I remember when I was in grade school, we sang a song that was a list of all the counties, and it hasn't changed.
No,
that was
not
60 years ago. So this is something that's, and I wish I could remember it, but it was a cute little song.
My wife sings it.
Okay,
to my
yeah.
kids,
The tune is in my brain right now. Now I'm in trouble. But it was, but we haven't changed anything for a while. I think if I'm looking at this bill, part of it is exactly what you said. But Representative Tusher is saying Salt Lake is now over 1 million people, and in some respects, you could imagine. It's an arbitrary threshold, but 1 million people puts you at a number that's maybe a little bit hard to manage at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, Salt Lake County, in terms of geography, is one of the smallest counties in the state, but in terms of populace, it's by far the biggest. I mean, Utah County is probably going to hit 1 million sometime in the next decade or so, and maybe that's another county that can be looked at. But I also agree with another thing you've said, which is Salt Lake County really has the sort of the metropolitan area, the downtown area, the Salt Lake City, even sort of out to including South Salt Lake and that. But then you have a far more rural part of the county, the West Jordan, South Jordan, Riverton, Draper. Those cities that
out where I live, is West Jordan, and out west there's still fields all the way up to the mine.
Sure, there are. Yeah, as there maybe should be. Does Salt Lake County represent? Does a representative from Salt Lake County really represent the entire geographical region of Salt Lake County? Maybe that is something that should be looked at. I'm surprised that maybe you can do it legislatively, that you pass a bill that allows the people in the county, I think it's what it says, it's almost like a referendum or a citizen initiative to come in and say, we want to change our county structure.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool because you can do this with cities anyway, with annexations. You can get the people that live in the area and say, and petition their government and say, you know what, we want to be a part of this city. We want to be, and in Salt Lake County, we have this weird, really stupid thing called islands. And you have these little islands all over the county. Sandy had a ton of islands, and they got to vote with whether they wanted to stay as managed by the county. So even though you live in the middle of Sandy, you could be managed by the county and not have snowplows go through your street but skip you. Or they could be annexed into Sandy. So citizens get to make those types of decisions, and then they're approved by the state. And that's essentially what this would look like. There's also been a really huge issue with crime, homelessness, and the way that people are prosecuted. Let's just say that.
Sure.
And it has to do with the district attorney's office. There's been a lot of fights up on Capitol Hill that have been super fun to watch, even though I'm not paid to watch any of them. I love watching them. They're really fun. Where the state is trying to manage kind of the crime load in Salt Lake and how things are prosecuted. And so a lot of folks in Salt Lake County, a lot of citizens are saying, we don't want to be a part of like the Salt Lake City DA, more Democrat mentality. We want tougher crime. We want tough on crime. We want bigger jails. So there's like this difference of how they act. Now the question is, Salt Lake is a weird place.
It is.
It's very blue, it's very red, and it's very purple, depending on where you go. So how would you, if you were kind of king for a day and those were the arguments in your mind, how do you draw those lines?
So I remember working at the district attorney's office, and I remember thinking about questions like that. And this may not be directly in response to what you're saying, but Salt Lake County also has a lot of what we call unincorporated areas. And so you have Sandy City, but sometimes you have areas east of Sandy that are not incorporated in Salt Lake City, but they're part of Salt Lake County. And I remember coordinating law enforcement and prosecution and fire and saying, well, what city did this happen in? To me, if I were king for a day, I would put everything in sort of a metropolitan area.
Wall-to-wall cities.
Yeah, well, or just have like fire has done it in some respects, where we have unified fire. You know what I mean? And that's not a great example because
do that with,
South Salt Lake still has its own little island. But I actually think that sometimes worked better when law enforcement, fire, and other services were working together as in more sort of county than city located. And I know I haven't answered your question exactly, but it seems like often when you have a city and it's incorporated, they want their own police chief. They want their own fire department. They want their own water district. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally
And sometimes
get that.
doesn't make sense.
I'm trying to think with where you, if you want to draw along ideological lines, let's say citizens get together and let's say citizens in Salt Lake get together and they're like, we don't want to be a part of Harriman. We don't want Harriman and Draper and Riverton making decisions for our city. And we electing our district attorney or our county attorney. So yeah, we are going to split this. And so you would have to, if you want to do ideological lines, it would be a weird looking map. You want to talk gerrymandered.
Right.
If you go along I-15, both the north quadrants, both east and west, are heavily Democratic. And then as you go further south, they get more Republican, except for, you have Cottonwood Heights and you have Mill Creek. And so it's heavily Democratic. And if you split it along I-80, or even if you go down a little more south,
right,
you're still going to have a ton of Republicans and a ton of Democrats so maybe that's good. Maybe it mixes it equally. And we say this is really purely just about a geographical issue here. Not along ideological lines. West Side needs to be better represented. So it's going to be interesting to see if this bill has any headwinds or if it kind of sails right through.
Or if we even want it to. I mean, it is interesting. Maybe citizens having that right to sit down and form their government and decide what they want to do. But yeah, I mean, you could just draw a line at 21st South, State Road 201, and say north is Salt Lake County and in south is whatever we want to call it.
As long as UDOT's just still fixing that road, then
right.
I think
we'd be in good shape. Yeah, the impassable object. Interesting. That's something I don't know. It's something you wonder if we're really going to take that very seriously. Apparently, we are. Next up on Inside Sources, President-elect Trump will take the oath of office on Monday. That's 3 days away, becoming America's 47th president. Let's discuss some things Utah Governor Spencer Cox is expecting with this Trump administration, working together with him. That's coming up next.
Good afternoon, 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan, KSL's top local story this hour. A state lawmaker is introducing a bill this session that would require schools to teach about firearms safety. KSL News Radio's Alessandra Gurr here.
This proposed House bill would require all state public schools to provide firearm safety instruction to students, focusing mainly on teaching elementary-age kids how to safely act around a firearm to avoid incidents. Schools would have the flexibility to decide how to provide this instruction, such as using a PowerPoint, a resource officer, or a volunteer from a police department. Parents would also have the choice to opt their child out of receiving this instruction.
If passed, the bill would take effect July 1st. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, another day of frustration for Capital One customers nationwide.
Capital One continues to deal with a widespread service outage that started Wednesday and peaked today. Thousands of customers reporting issues, mostly with deposits. Most complaints coming from the East Coast, but some from as far west as California. Capital One blaming a technical glitch with one of its service providers. The company says it's working to fix the problem and promises to process delayed deposits and transactions as soon as systems are back online. Dave Packer, ABC News.
Your money at this moment. The Dow wrapped up the week with a 334-point gain today. And coming up, we could get an inch of snow tomorrow. It's possible. KSL weather coming up next. KSL News Time, 2:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, wake up, brush teeth, Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with the sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a honey buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
At the Utah Auto Expo, we have a vehicle for almost everything. Four-wheeling, snowblowing, vacationing, boat hauling, and adventure seeking. Heck, we have a whole section for adventure seekers called Adventure Utah. The Auto Expo has a vast selection of vehicles from different manufacturers all in one place. It's a great place to comparative shop. We have a vehicle for almost everything, and we certainly have a vehicle for your thing. The Utah Auto Expo, Mountain America Expo Center, January 17th through the 20th. Plenty of free parking for your current car. Go to AutoExpoUtah.com for tickets.
It doesn't matter if your only neighbors are wildlife or just wild in general.
I would propose that amendment.
If you work from home or work is technically at home, every homeowner can save money by getting a ThermWise home energy plan from Enbridge Gas. Discover ways to make your home more energy efficient and apply for rebates if you purchase any energy efficient appliances. Schedule a home energy plan from Enbridge Gas at thermwise.com.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by My Style Checking from Mountain America Credit Union. Here's Ricky Meese.
Valley Freeway traffic rolling along, looking good, as well as our main secondaries. No problems there. We have had an accident westbound Highway 189 in Wasatch County at the lower portion near Deer Creek Reservoir. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, we could see snow overnight, then maybe an inch tomorrow. After that, it gets cold, could be 10 degrees Monday night. Right now, 35. And it's partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Jeff Kaplan from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to KSL, and welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm alongside Adam Gardner, who's in a surprisingly good mood today. And here's what I don't understand. You are Mr. Chipper, but earlier today you were on the side of a road changing a flat tire.
My pants are very dirty.
I know.
Luckily,
I can see that. I'm like, what's up with that? And by the way, how are your Niners doing this weekend?
Let's not talk about the
Okay.
Niners,
Well,
'cause
I'm trying to.
They're not playing
all right.
the last couple weekends because they stink.
But you know who is playing? Donald Trump. He's going to take office in a couple of days, and Utah leaders saying they're preparing for the new Trump administration. I think they have to. In his monthly press conference hosted by PBS Utah, Governor Cox talked about a conversation he had with the incoming president over some executive orders, and this was just recently in PBS. He talked about where we're going with that, and kind of talked about what he expects from Donald Trump. Here's what he had to say.
I specifically asked the question. We're seeing orders, decisions coming out of the Biden administration that are, clearly last minute, very politically driven, and just unseemly orders that are coming out. And the question I asked is, what is your administration's plan to deal with these last minute orders that they would never have done had they actually won the election? And the message from President Trump was that literally on day one, that his plan is to leave the dais after being sworn in and go into the Capitol and start signing orders to undo some of those things. So I don't know what that will look like, but we'll be prepared from day one to start working together on whatever that is.
Does it surprise you, Adam, how much Cox has embraced Trump? I mean, even from the election and even now. I mean, we saw there was a picture of my son just a day or two ago where they're walking side by side in Mar-a-Lago. I mean, he's I don't know that embrace is a word, but he certainly made it clear that he wants to work with the new administration.
Sure, and you know what? He's
to his credit, yeah.
So you're right to say, I don't know if I'd say embrace Trump, because I think you're right there. I think, hey, I'm going to vote for Trump if it's between him and Biden. And look, even if you think Biden's a great guy, for a state like Utah, it is very difficult to work with the Biden administration. They do not communicate with states, and I've heard this on a number of occasions from Republican governors and Democratic governors who say they'll just do stuff and we are not consulted at all. So things that will affect blue states or red states, it doesn't really matter. The Biden administration was very hard to work with. And even during the Trump administration, look, I've never voted for Trump. And in a primary, in a caucus, and in a general election, and I've never voted for Biden either. So I feel equally qualified to say that I don't like either of them. But in the Trump administration, they worked much better with states. Before they would do something in a state, they would consult with the governor, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, and they would do that same thing if Northern California caught on fire. He worked very well with Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom was singing his praises. The Trump administration is giving me everything I want. And Governor Cox mentioned when he went to Mar-a-Lago, it was like 27 Republican governors there. It was a huge number. And I don't know another time where that many Republican governors have all been in the same place. And so they were all meeting with Trump. And like Governor Cox said, he mentioned on day one, I'm going right into the Capitol. I'm not even going to the White House. And I'm going to sign executive orders that will reverse everything that the Biden administration did. And we talked about a few of those.
Right.
Locking up roads in Utah, changing Title IX, the ERA stuff. I mean, if you're going to give these directives by executive fiat, then they can be overturned by Donald Trump.
Yeah, and so I went through a list of them, and I want to talk about a few of them. There are some of these executive orders that Trump has indicated he's going to do on day one that are going to require a substantial amount of state support. And I'm thinking mostly about deportations and the fact that the federal government can only do so much. And local government has seemed, at least local law enforcement has seemed reluctant, at least in Utah, maybe nationwide, about getting into getting information about people, about their status, going to people's houses about that, and looking into who is here legally and who's not. But that's something that Trump has made a big part of his agenda and cannot do without state support, in my opinion.
And Spencer Cox has made it very clear that he's going to embrace that. They've written multiple letters to the Biden administration saying, we do not like your ICE rep in the state of Utah. He is not good. He doesn't listen to us. He doesn't deport people. And when we're talking about deportation, a lot of times we picture, and I picture it too, they're rounding up, little children that had just crossed the border for a better life and putting them in detention camps. Look, mass deportation, we're talking about 20, 25 million illegals in the country. That's not what we're talking about. We are talking about those that have committed crimes in the state, whether they're state crimes like theft and stealing grand larceny, whatever. And what they do is they cooperate. Local jurisdictions will cooperate with the federal government and say, hey, we have this criminal X. He has a number of warrants out for his arrest. You guys need to take him and send him back across the border. There are two problems with that. One, ICE in the state of Utah doesn't actually listen to local law enforcement. And two, if you ship them back to their home country in 2 weeks, they're back again anyway. And so it's really frustrating to the state and to law enforcement. Then you have sanctuary cities in California and Denver and New York and Vermont and Martha's Vineyard, whatever, everywhere that DeSantis bust people to.
Right.
That was a sanctuary city. The problem with them is they're the local law enforcement, local jurisdiction, and they're not telling ICE that they have any illegal immigrants who are criminals, committed crimes. And so you're absolutely right. It will take states and the federal government cooperating with each other, and it seems like we have that right now in Spencer Cox and Donald Trump.
Yeah, and I think another executive order, and this one's near and dear to Utah because something like 75% of our state is federal land, is incoming President Trump's commitment to start opening up more federal lands to mining, to drilling, to the things that Biden and a lot of Democratic presidents have sort of tried to draw back. That's something that seems to be in step with the Republican legislature and Republican governor a little bit in terms of
they're all about it,
how we deal with federal land. So they might be applauding that and might make that transition a little bit easier for the Trump administration.
Well, and I think, look, Donald Trump actually opened up ANWR, the Arctic National Wildlife Reserve up in Alaska. He opened it up for drilling. He opened up a lot of offshore drilling. And then when the Biden administration came in, they rescinded all of those leases, locked it back up. And so you're going to see, this is my problem with the Antiquities Act and a president being able to just, I'm going to create a 10 million acre monument. And then the next president comes in and says, oh, I hate that, so I'm going to rescind it. It's a terrible way to govern. It's not what the founders, I think, envisioned at all. And so this whole tit for tat thing needs to end, and Congress needs to actually flip and do its job and stop delegating everything to the president or to one of the president's agencies. Congress needs to decide where these things go. If you want drilling in ANWR, Congress should be able to tell you that we want drilling in ANWR.
Right. And when we had Grand Staircase Escalante, Bears Ears, I mean, what a controversy. And how unfair to some of the people in those regions to say, well, you're a national monument. Well, now you're not. Now you're BLM land, regular BLM land, and going back and forth because, you're doing one thing to sort of enhance the tourist industry. You're doing another thing to enhance the business, the drilling mining industry. And you can't have it both ways because the local jurisdictions are working toward one or the other, and then what do you do?
And they're stuck. And we're talking about the Grand Escalante that was done with Clinton at the very end of his presidency in Arizona. Obama did the same thing.
With
Biden has done the same thing in different states.
Yeah.
So you're right. It's a problem.
Speaking of President Trump and his incoming administration starting, we're going to preview his inauguration, which is just 2 days away. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and over the years, you've heard me praise the Connecticut soft water systems. You've heard that so often, you might be tempted to chuck a shoe at your radio. Well, hang on, because I've got some great news. Get this, Connecticut will pay you $50. I'm not kidding on this. They'll pay you $50 to buy a competing water softener from another dealer. Ready for the rules, though? Well, they're pretty simple. Invite Connecticut of Utah to your home for a free estimate on a Connecticut water softener. If within 60 days of hearing them out, you buy any other system from any other water softener dealer, Connecticut of Utah will fork over $50. That's how sure they are that after hearing them out, you won't settle for anything less than a Connecticut water softener. Now, this offer does expire in 30 days, so don't delay. Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com. Tell them Doug sent you.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Bombas makes the most comfortable socks, underwear, and T-shirts.
Warning, Bombas are so absurdly comfortable you may throw out all your other clothes.
Sorry, do we legally have to say that?
No, this is just how I talk, and I really love my Bombas.
They do feel that good. And they do good, too. One item purchased equals one item donated.
To feel good and do good, go to bombas.com/radio and use code radio for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/radio and use code radio at checkout.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC now recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
You know that feeling? Your furnace is working way too hard to keep up with the cold, except now it's not actually as cold as it used to be, but the furnace still seems to be working too hard, and what if this means your furnace doesn't have what it takes to survive the winter after all? Whipple that away. Replacing your furnace now so you can stop worrying now is my job. Make your problem my problem. Whipple Service Champions.
Visit whipplethataway.com for our current special offers.
At Intermountain Children's Health, we've created a bold plan called Primary Promise to build the nation's model health system for children. Help us achieve this once-in-a-generation vision so together we can bring the world-class care of Primary Children's Hospital closer to home for every child in our communities. For more than a century, Primary Children's has kept the child first and always. Join us for the next 100 years. To learn more, visit primarypromise.org.
Do you have any idea how hard your heating system has to work when your old windows let the cold air seep in? Your energy bill is going through the roof. But there's an answer, and it comes from Advanced Window Products. For 38 years, they've been building state-of-the-art insulated windows and frames, and every one of them is built right here in Utah. So let me explain why it's cost-effective to call them for new windows right now. First, you'll see a significant drop in your energy bills. Winter and summer, and right now, call Advanced Windows and you'll get $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Triple-coated, argon-filled and sealed double-pane insulated glass that'll keep out the cold, and custom frames in any style, any color. Advanced Windows offers a 60-month, 0% interest payment plan, and they even offer a plan with no payment, no interest for 24 months. Plus, that $2,500 off right now. Call for a no-pressure consultation, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio. The inauguration of President Donald J. Trump. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
This morning, news broke that for the first time in 40 years, President-elect Trump will not take the oath of office on the U.S. Capitol steps. The reason? Bitter cold temperatures forecast in the area. So instead of standing outside, Trump is going to be sworn in inside the Capitol Rotunda. And from my understanding, what I've been able to read here is that the entire program is going to be done inside. And so that's going to be different. I had tickets
for the outside.
To go and witness his swearing in, and I was set to go. Hotel rooms were like $1,500 a night in the city, and it was just flights were more expensive. And the closer it got, I was like, the next day is the legislative session, and I work up on Capitol Hill during the legislative session, and so I had more work to do. So I gave my tickets back, and I didn't go. But I have a lot of friends and acquaintances, and a lot of legislators are going to the inauguration. And then some of them are on planes, and while they're on planes, they're getting notifications that say, we are no longer doing this thing outside. We're doing it inside. So you have 50 to 100,000 people that are showing up in the bitter cold for this thing, and now they have no place to watch if they can't get a ticket inside.
So, yeah, you could imagine the Capitol Rotunda. They're not going to give 100,000 tickets. They probably can't give 2,500. I don't know how big it is, but it's not. It's not
big, but it's not outside on the Capitol steps in the West Front big.
I can't imagine in our country's history a inauguration day, which is always going to be in January.
It used to be in March.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day.
All right.
I think Roosevelt was the first one that was sworn in January.
Okay, but there has to have been some cold days.
Yeah.
Some bitter cold days. And so this one's colder than most. I mean, the planet's warmer than it's ever been. You would expect that we're not having record cold at the Capitol that day.
Well, we were checking some of the weather, and it looks like it was going to be 24 degrees outside, which it was 23 degrees this morning while I'm outside changing my tire. And so, like, that was freezing cold. You have to wake up at 5 a.m. to go view this thing. The metros aren't running throughout the city. And so, yeah, it's bitter cold. You got to go up to the Hill and sit in your seat for 5 hours and wait until this program starts.
Have you been to one before?
No. And,
okay.
and in fact, I'm very weird because I love presidential politics. I love reading biographies of presidents. I am obsessed with learning more about these men that have served. And then when I get the opportunity to go and see them live, I'm like, I don't care. I don't. That seems like a lot of trouble. I don't want to go through security, and that's going to be security on steroids.
Let me play devil's advocate for just a minute. There's always been, or at least there has been for the last 8 years, controversy about Trump's, quote, crowd size, where he says, I have the biggest crowds, I have the whatever.
Nobody's ever seen crowds like this.
Right, and the Democrats saying actually nobody shows up. And so if you're holding it in the Capitol Rotunda, it's going to be full to the brim. I don't care. I mean, you're going to have, it's going to be jam-packed, standing room only, tickets at a premium. I mean, he's guaranteed a full house.
Yeah, you put bleachers all over that clear, 200 feet up in the rotunda. They're all going to be full.
Right.
So it's going to look huge.
It's going to look like he's got a big crowd. And maybe, I mean, I'm not saying that's part of his logic here, but I'm saying that no one will say he had a small crowd. That place will be packed to the gills.
The other thing I think is I went to D.C. last month, and while I was there, we got to go by the White House. They do a big parade after, and then they were building all of the bleachers and the stands outside the west front of the Capitol. Now, the Capitol of the United States, the front was always meant to be on the east side, but it looks exactly the same. And so they do the inaugurations on the other side, on the west side, so they call it the west front, and then there's the east front. So they're both the front of the Capitol. So it gets a little confusing. But on the west front, they've completely built all of the bleachers and the stands, and now they're not going to be used anymore. It takes these guys 2-3 months to build up all these things. Right. And we're just saying, no, that doesn't matter anymore. We don't use them. And it's always kind of been this fun little I'm a man. I'm a real president because I'm going to show up and give my inauguration in 25-degree weather, and I'm going to show up without an overcoat, and I'm going to look,
Right.
tough. And it's kind of like the Reagan, Russian leader when you go to the summit in the freezing cold, who looks kind of like the man. And so that kind of all goes out the way. Nobody's going to be cold. Everyone's going to be inside. But those thousands of people that got tickets, or those 100,000 of people that want to show up on the mall, now what are their options? Are they even going to get to see the president that day? Do you show up for nothing?
Yeah, you wonder if it wouldn't be a compromise, Adam, for those people that have tickets that are going to be on the mall. And I know this wouldn't be nearly the same. If you just put a big screen up, let them come, let them use their tickets, let them use the venue that's been set up, but let them watch something.
And they will.
Okay,
they will. So they'll have screens set up, and they will have big loudspeakers, so you can see it and hear it all the way down the mall. So and you bring up a really good point, because if you're clear down at the end of the mall, just showing up just because, and you don't have tickets, and you just want to watch President Trump get sworn in, you're going to have the exact same viewing experience from that spot, whether he was outside or whether he was inside. It's going to be the same. And so you're going to have Carrie Underwood singing America the Beautiful. That's still going to sound awesome, whether she sings it outside or inside.
Yeah. So, I mean, are you disappointed that you're not going? Or are you sort of glad now that it's been moved inside?
No, now I'm really glad that
it's
because I had tickets for seats, and I'm totally okay.
Were you taking your wife?
No, my brother and I were going to go.
I mean, sort of an opportunity of a lifetime, no matter how you look at it.
Would you ever go? Would you ever go to an inauguration?
Absolutely.
Would you go for the other party?
Yes.
It's just still fun.
Oh, for the other part?
Yeah. So you're a Democrat. If a Republican's getting sworn in, would you go? Well, whether it's Trump or George Bush, or if you had the opportunity to go, would you take it?
For Trump, no. For any other Republican, I'd probably go. I mean, I'm sorry. I wouldn't. But I would go for the pomp and circumstance. I would go to watch it. I would go to experience something like that for once. I would for Trump if I was invited.
It's a really cool experience. I just remember Donald Trump came to do. He actually signed the executive order to rescind Bears Ears up at the Utah State Capitol in 2017, 18. I think it was 2018, and there was an opportunity for some people to come and view him at the airport and shake his hand and everything. And I didn't care to do that, but I took my dad because it was a cool.
Oh, yeah.
He's never had that opportunity. He thought it was really cool. And so my dad and I went to go to the airport and actually, shake President Trump's hand as he walked by. And
oh, wow.
It was a cool experience.
That'd be something else.
And so, I mean, I didn't vote for the guy, but I still thought it was kind of neat.
Locally here, did you go to any of the inaugurations over the last week or so?
Yeah, and in fact, I'm
a Democrat, so I don't get invited to the local inaugurations.
There was a lot of Democrats there, but I did go to Governor Cox's inauguration.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest, it was the best inauguration that I have ever been to. The message was awesome. The Tabernacle Choir sang. They had a Broadway star sing "Bring Him Home." And I was blown away. It was so awesome. The messages were so great, and it was a really, really cool experience. And then I went to the governor's ball that night. I brought my wife. We did not dance. She knows me very well. But it was great to just, to go reminisce and what, of the last 4 years and kind of look forward to the next 4 years.
So it's going to be too cold this weekend to be at the Capitol, but it's not going to be too cold to sit in Philadelphia and watch your Eagles, Jeff Kaplan, play at home. You're dressed in your Eagles outfit.
I am representing.
People are gonna be freezing there too, but it's a little different thing.
Thank you so much for listening to Inside Sources. Make sure to tune in Monday for live coverage of President Trump's inauguration. Then stick around, as always, to hear live analysis with Greg Skordas and Taylor Morgan. Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News is next. Have a great weekend.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. 36 degrees in Salt Lake City. KSL's top story: TikTok users might have a lot of time on their hands on Sunday. As things stand,
commitment to work with us to find a solution that keeps TikTok available in the United States.
On campus.